I'm Cynthia Mene. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Inspire Africa for Global Impact Initiative. Inspire Africa is a non-profit organization in Lagos, Nigeria. We've been in operation for nearly 4 years, working to support entrepreneurs like you, train more than 3,000 young people, and also funded more than 120 ventures and created over 300 jobs. So currently, Inspire Africa launched an innovation lab similar to Intex, but quite different. Ours is going to be very practical and engaging in the sense that you are not just working on your own product or business idea. It's going to take you through an innovation phase entirely to understand the principles and process or methodology behind how you create an innovation, how you build a product, how you launch it into the market, that whole process. And that's, I'm going to give you like a brief intro into that light. So what we're going to do right now is going to focus on innovation and customer segments. So I will take you through that simple process we kind of would be implementing even during the innovation lab practically. But right now, you just have a deep understanding of the whole concept of how innovations are being created, how people come up with ideas, why you see some crazy ideas, and you'll be wondering how did these guys are creative, and then you tell yourself, oh, I'm not creative, I'm not like that smart, but that's not true. Everyone, like, there's no one that they don't have like two heads. They're not better than any of you guys. The same process that most of them have taken is the same path that you could take and even come up with those ideas, like what Facebook did, like what Google have done today, what Uber, Airbnb, and so many others. But we'll bring it down to our very local state, our very local home. Briefly, so in innovation, let me just tell you a quick story. There was this company, this organization, who they wanted to they kind of wanted to find a way to like launch expand their product. So they wanted to expand into like their market base. And then the CEO woke up one day and said, oh yeah, everybody, I need you guys to come up with a new idea. Like we need to do something. And some of them went online and searched and realized there's this wonderful word that looks very nice called design thinking. and found that IDU created like this toolkit, and then people can do empathy, prototype, test, and then everybody was moving around with sticky notes, trying to say, what have you designed? What have you prototyped? Who have you spoken to? Blah, blah, blah. And then at the end of the day, nothing really happened, because innovation doesn't just come out that way. It doesn't just appear that way. New business models that create real impact. It's not like they are better than anybody. The simple process is that they've used a user-centered model. When I mean user-centered model, I mean like putting yourself in the shoe of your user. You are designing for somebody. You're creating a solution for someone. Like the lady who said, that they help provide school like bus transportation, I think, for school students, and then it also allows teachers to know if their children, so student, went to school or not. So I think that when you are designing, it's not really about you, it's about like thinking about that the teacher's needs. Oh, do they really want to know if students want to be in school, or want to take a note of like when students are in school or not, or like are students really finding it hard to transport themselves there? What are that alternative methods are available, and what has not been provided? So these guys, Airbnb, Facebook, what they are actually creating is not just products. They are creating experience. So what you do on Facebook is called an experience. In fact, sometimes they use it to test run. So if you notice, sometimes when sometimes Facebook does an experiment. If you post, sometimes if you check somebody's post, you might not be able to share at times. Sometimes you can share. Why does that happen? They're actually experimenting. They're trying to create an experience to see how those users how do users interact with their products? How do they behave when we have like button, we don't have like button, we have share button? How do they, what limits them? What can they do and what can they do? So that way, they use that way to create solutions, to create new products, to create new things. So anytime you want to innovate something, the first thing you need to develop a mindset that allows you focus on your users. And that mindset is what we call the user-centered design thinking. So before I dive deeper right now into this human-centered methodology, I want you to do something for me. So I'm going to share a link on my screen currently. I'm going to share a link. I want you to go to that link and type two things. Can you see that link right now? Can just say yes on the chat box. Just say yes on the chat box if you can say it. Okay, good, good. Okay, thank you. So go to this link. I want you to write two things. First, so write problem, like in one sentence, what is the problem you are solving? So if it's, for example, unemployment or poor transportation or lack of access to transportation for students, so one sentence, write that out. Then under it, you put the solution. Put solution, and then say one sentence, what's your solution is, like, what are you currently doing that is tackling that? And so maybe one sentence says providing school bus for free school bus or easy accessible school bus for so days, or like, so just one sentence that describes that briefly. Okay.
Hello, Cynthia. Excuse
Yeah.
me. To make it easier, can you please share the link maybe on the
Oh yeah,
inbox?
sure. I can do that. I can do it.
Thanks.
1 second. Okay. I've done that. Can you see the link now? And when you share, I'm going to project briefly. So I want this session to be like a little more interactive, because like I don't just want to, I didn't come here to just talk. I want to see, I want to make sure that at the end of this process, really understand what it means to what innovation, how innovation like is actually develops, how people come up with innovation, how to be user centered, how to provide value to your customers. So I'll give you a few minutes to quickly type that out, and then I'm going to project that.
I don't know. On my side, it wants me to ask the question actually.
Pardon? So
On my
it's like,
side,
yeah, it comes like a question. So just type inside it. So type the problem, type the solution as though you
oh,
are asking a question, then submit.
okay.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. So let me just give an example so that you all see. If you can see my screen, something like that. So you just type it right here and just say problem XYZ, whatever that is. Solution. Your solution should come with the name first. So if it is GIMA, then you tell us what GIMA does in one sentence. Then you submit. Okay? So we have 1 more minute. Okay, I have one from George right now. There are many people that presented. Why are we only having one? I think we have up to 5 start of year, right?
Yes, sure. We have up to 5 stars.
Yeah, so I only have one person who just sent me. Please can the rest? Okay, yeah, someone else too has come. Good, 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 good. So if you can see Joachim's on, I hope I got that spelling correctly. So he said problem, access to health information and services, and solution, Tiba Faster. Tiba Faster, you didn't tell us what you're doing in one sentence.
Should I type again?
Yeah, you can do that. So I want to see like what is the solution you're providing in one sentence to that. We also have traditional inconsistent way of buying insurance. Solution, buying insurance on the tip of your finger. Interesting. So that means you're making it easy and accessible for people to get insurance.
Yes, I've just improved it.
Pardon? Okay.
The insurance thing, I've just mentioned the app name too.
That's fine. I saw that. So we have Daniel says high failure rate of secondary school students due to lack of enough competent teachers. Very good. And studying at tuition has become expensive to most of the student solution. Okay, of the students, then solution, Elimu Tube, an online learning platform. Okay, an online learning platform, but then so there's a better way to like communicate. So there's a reason why I'm asking you guys to do this. Okay, I'll get there briefly. Okay, yeah, so Smart Beamer have improved on his own. So buying insurance on the tip of your finger, Smart Beamer. Okay, thank you for adding that. Yeah, Sarah too. Problem, poor transportation of agricultural produce. So food is going to waste and farmers are not making money. Very good. The solution, farmers can sell their produce directly to customers. Interesting. Though you didn't put the name of the business, but that's fine. Okay, Joachim also improved on his own access to health information and services. Cyber Faster, promoting assets by leveraging on technology. Can you see? There's something that's happening right here. So I didn't really talk about the more you, so by the time you write and then you see how you are communicating yours and then you are viewing it back to yourself and to the people, you see that you are also finding ways to improve on it. You're iterating. So what you started at the beginning is not necessarily for some of you, what you brought back again towards the end. And if you look at this one more time, you see that there's a better way you keep improving. This is very similar to how design thinking works. Design thinking is an iteration process. So you start at the very lean stage, and then by the time you get to the end, your idea or your concept is completely revolutionized. It's changed. Like you continue improving. I can hear myself echoing. Somebody online. Can we go on?
Okay, Cynthia, you can unmute yourself now and speak. I just muted everyone.
Okay, thank you. Um, so yeah, so guys, thank you so much for sharing. That was fantastic. Good to at least have a better concept of that. But let's go back to our initial. Let's go back to the initial concept I was explaining on design thinking. 1 second, let me just quickly take that back. Okay, one other person. Okay, yeah. So, design thinking actually gives you faith in your creative abilities and the process for transforming like difficult challenges into opportunities that allows you come up with innovative ideas. So when we ask like what is design thinking, for me, I think I'm more inclined to what we call human-centered design, because everything I do, whatever solutions, even in Inspire Africa, everything, any program we design, anything we come up with follows the process of design thinking. Um, so if, for example, we launched a recent, so we've been running an innovation lab in the past few years that was actually funded and promoted by the US Embassy in Nigeria. So currently we decided to go digital, but especially because it was being affected by COVID-19. But we didn't just launch a digital product. We didn't just do that. What we first of all did was to send out a survey. We wanted to communicate with people to see what were their interests, what were they willing to learn, what were they interested in, especially if you were to go through a challenge in terms of business concept, and then what are the pain points they have that they want to know more about. And then we discovered that a lot of them actually, so we gave a few areas that is within our region, our competency, and then realized that most of them want to learn more like about like skills that can keep them afloat in this digital age. Want to learn more about user-centered design process, about digital marketing. So you just realize that everybody is now thinking of digitization and anything that will allow their business to succeed digitally. And using that process and understanding our users' need, our customers' audience need, we decided to come up with a solution in the quote, like a challenge called like an innovation, a digital transformation, but still an innovation challenge that allows people from across different parts of the country collaborate, meet with, work in teams, and design, like come up with, learn about innovation through practical creations. So in the long run, you can choose to implement that idea or you choose to return back. But the most important thing is that you have gained the skills that is necessary for you to adapt in this global workforce and the disruption as a result of COVID-19 and the rest of other things based on digitization, either as machine learning, artificial intelligence, and all those things. So when you are designing for your users, one of first things you need to think about is like understanding their needs first before you come up with a solution. You can't just say, oh, I'm saying, oh, people who are not students are just moving up and down, or motorcyclists are just moving up and down. They are not able to, they're complaining, they're not getting clients and all those things. No, there's more beyond that you need to find out for you to come up with a creative solution that will help them in the future. So, and that design thinking process. So the first phase is called human-centered design, understanding the needs. The second phase is called collaboration. So you know that several great minds are always stronger when like you solving a challenge and then you are collaborating together to do that. So either as a team or like partnerships. You don't do things alone. When you are building a solution, do not do it alone. I don't encourage it at all. Collaboration very important. Partnership really important. It helps your business or whatever thing you want to come up with sustain longer, and even helps you get like perspective from ideas from different perspectives, which even makes it have a higher potential for success. And then in design thinking, another mindset, because design thinking is a mindset. So first of all, I want to expose, like, open up your mindset to the process before I take you through the methodology. So another mindset you need to be a good designer in creating innovations is to be optimistic. You want to be yes, yes, yes. You don't want to be no. You want to be up this way. You don't want to. So when ideas are coming, just put them on the table. All of them. All of them have potential. At the end of it, you'll find a process that will allow you eliminate some of them that are not valuable, and then streamline it down to things that are very valuable. So no matter what, you want to stay optimistic. Then another attitude of a designer, a design thinker, is experimentation. So you want to be able to experiment, like prototype. So they say design thinkers are the people who try to fail fast so that um, they can succeed and stand strong. So when I mean fail fast, I mean like creating. So you are not trying to get a perfect product out. So the product shouldn't be perfect before, or flawless before you get it out. You want to release it fast to get enough feedback and keep iterating the process until you come up with a wonderful solution. But funny enough, nobody even come up with the perfect solution. If you look at what's happening to Google right now, there's destruction happening, and then you see that they keep coming up with new solutions. Why? Because of that constant experimentation, constant feedback. Sometimes you see Facebook is creating nighttime, daytime, like different thing. Now there's even one thing that Facebook does, so you can set a timer that allows you, if you put, you can choose the number of hours you spend on Facebook. So if that you have spent that hour on Facebook, so you want to restrict yourself in terms of spending so much time on social media. I think Facebook or Google, one of them does that thing. So once you set that timer, it completely shuts you off after you reach that particular time, and then you can access your Facebook or you can access YouTube or something like that. So it just keeps you in check. So, and it's part of experimentation. It doesn't have to be perfect. They just keep trying and then getting feedback. So if it's boring or annoying to some customers will be able to tell them or report, and then they'll kind of improve the process. So as a design thing, as an entrepreneur, and who wants to continue to come up with product innovations that will help you stay relevant and provide valuable impact, these are the process and mindset you need to have as a design thinker. So in summary, staying focused on user-centered human design thinking, be collaborative, always optimistic, and then be experimental. So the next thing I want you to know is that, sometimes we have like so many ideas that we come up with, and then we wonder like, which one should I go with? And we have this skeptical mindset, like, okay, I don't know this one look better. This one it's easier for me to implement this one, or this one I have easier access. But whenever you want to make a decision as an entrepreneur in terms of creating, choosing the right idea, the right solution, or the right value, there's a simple process you could follow. So this simple process is by thinking about putting all your ideas on the table and asking yourself this question. First of all, is it desirable? So when you say is it desirable, it's like saying, is it centered on my user? Do customers need it? Do they seek for it? Is this what they need? Is this their pain point? So you ask that question to determine if that idea like meets that criteria. And then you ask another question of, is it viable? So when you say is it viable, that's like, can it have this like business, does it have a business attribute? So it could even be a non-profit, it doesn't have to be, but a non-profit that has this business viability in terms of there's a way it could be sustainable, because nobody do traditional non-profit like that. Again, it doesn't really pay off except you are a foundation and you have so much money. So you need to figure out how to be sustainable. So even as a non-profit, you still have to think about the business part of your business that will generate revenue and keep that organization afloat. So you ask that question, and then you ask yourself, is it feasible? So when I mean feasible, like, do you have the technical competency to deliver on this? Can you be able to, so do you have, or do you have any member in your team that have that technical competency to deliver and make that happen? So when you think about all of these things, and then you plot that graph, you realize that some of the ideas you pick might fall in desirability and viability. So if you know what, if you have done like something like Venn diagram before in school, you understand what I mean. So this is similar to a Venn diagram. So it might be somewhere within this place, or if it's between viable and feasible, it can be somewhere between the orange part, in between the viable and feasible part. But if it has all those three factors, then it means that that solution is poised to make real impact. So I want to do like a practical demo right now again. What I want us to do this time around would be to, if somebody who will be willing to volunteer, let's take up one of your ideas and then plot it within this diagram and see, to help you see if which particular position in this does it fall into, okay? And if you're on track. So I mean, which of you will be willing to volunteer? Just
Guys, you can
put that
vote
on the
now,
chat box.
or put a name on the chat box. Martin, do you want to volunteer?
Yes, I'm willing.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. So let's have a chat. So you can keep yourself like, just stay open.
All
Don't
right.
mute yourself. I'll just ask you a couple of questions and we'll see how we do this. Let me drop this down first. 1 second. Okay. I'll just take my pen. Okay. So now tell again, let's start with like what your business is, just briefly.
Okay. What we really do is that in Tanzania right now, the insurance company, basically motor vehicles, you have to go and buy it, and you get the sticker physically. You have to go and buy, and they give you a sticker. So right now we want to change that in the sense that instead of getting that sticker, you just put your QR code, you pay for it, and then off you go.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So helping them like instead of buying stickers, so they have a QR code. Would they have that code constantly with them? Is it on their phone? How do they get it?
The QR code?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me add in. Robert here will help me out too to explain it further.
Okay.
About the QR code, they will have to sign up on our application. And as soon as you sign up, you get a QR code which will carry your insurance profile.
Okay. So there's an app.
Yes.
Okay, and that app allows them to sign up. So is that QR code generated constantly anytime they want to use it, or it's like a one time? So you have like this permanent QR
It's
code.
one time, yes.
One time thing.
Okay, one time usage, and then to always be on that app. So then all they need to do is to log in and to just open, and the QR code will just come out, right?
Yes.
Okay, so can you tell me, when you said they buy they usually buy stickers, what do you think that is the main challenge for them, like whenever they buy the stickers, that made you come up with a solution like this?
Yeah. When you buy a sticker, you have to change it annually. Whenever upon your insurance renewal, you have to change your sticker. But if you have a QR code, you won't need changing a sticker. It will be just like a one-time thing.
Okay. So did you find out from them if like changing it annually is something that is stressful for them? Like why would they
So,
want to like bother about doing something
okay,
else? Yeah.
okay, Cynthia, if I go back to the main, the overall chain problem,
Mm-hmm.
having a motor vehicle insurance is one of the key. It's a mandatory to our country.
Okay.
In a sense that the government, the traffics are strictly uh, monitoring if you have your insurance or not. You might find I have a car in a certain period of time, but maybe I have my sticker on the car, but it I mean its due date is over, and I don't know anything about it. So there is no notification, there is no anything.
Oh,
So
good.
on
So
a
notification.
yes, that maybe it will tell me, Martin, you are 10 days due, or you'll be due, let's say, end of this month. So please go update your insurance information or pay for another installment, something like that. So that's a problem to my side. But there is another problem where when you meet a traffic, probably you have paid for the sticker, but when the traffic search for your information, he sees you have not paid for the insurance. So those are things that actually do happen occasionally between maybe the government and the driver or the car owner.
So did they charge fee for that, or did they arrest you for not?
Yes. You are supposed to pay 30K shilling.
Wow, that's 30. Okay, let's just say 30K. Okay. So this thing you just said now, it's very fantastic because the funny part is that my I actually have that particular problem. As I'm speaking to you, I realized, so just a few days ago I realized my my plates car vehicle license expired since April.
Wow.
Since April, and I didn't know.
You
So
see,
I
so
just
that's a problem already. Yeah?
yes. So I just realized. So as you're saying, it's like I was really nodding my head. So because yesterday my husband was to go somewhere far, and then we just I don't know what happened. I just like, oh God, this thing has expired. No, we can't drive this car. Um,
Yeah.
so that's really a problem. And so just like that, because nobody was going out during COVID-19, we just
Yes.
relaxed.
Yes.
And even without that, I've had some instances. Um, Sometime a few years ago, another area where you could find something like that is also in driving license. That's
Yeah.
another thing you could also look at, because there was a time I was stopped on the road and the man looked at it. I boldly gave my driver's license only to check that it expired a few days ago. So because it was a few days ago, so the man let me and said, go and renew it. And I
Okay.
was very bold giving the driver's license, and I didn't even check. I didn't know. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, I think this is a huge issue. So in that light, that means that first of all, yours fall in undesirable. So it means that people desire it. It's a pain for people. They need
Yes.
it. So it's well communicated. So first of all, put that here. Then the second part is your solution. So when you describe that, um, so let's quickly, 1 second. We're going to explain that part of QR code again, and then we'll talk about how that falls. So the business part of it, so helping people generate QR code that they can use to, is it to pay or to notify them? How do they get notification?
Okay. So let us say now I want to buy an insurance from the Smart Beamer, right? So
Mhm.
you'll have to log in, right? Register yourself, all your information, that including your driving license, your age, probably your type of your car,
Mhm.
every necessary information that you're supposed to include it.
Mhm.
So when you buy, that will be your first time, right? So I expect that in, let's say, 3 months or 2 months before before uh, the expiring date, you are to get notification like, hey Cynthia, good morning, your insurance card is going to expire in 2 months, so please make payments as soon as possible.
Okay. So how do they, how do you profit from this?
Okay. So, Robert, could you please assist on that?
So even if it's not
Um,
like, if it's even not like a specific profit, but how do you like generate a revenue to keep this
Revenue.
model? Yeah.
Currently, when you buy insurance policy from an insurance agent, the insurance company tend to pay them a commission on each insurance that they sell. So if people will be buying insurance from our platform, that commission will be coming to us. So generally, we'll be
Oh.
getting our revenue from the commission from the insurance companies.
So, Cynthia,
Mm-hmm.
to make it easy, we have insurance brokers, right? That they
Mm-hmm.
tend to be like middlemen between the insurance company and the motor vehicle owners.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of you going to insurance brokers who are manually doing the activities, and sometimes they don't even update your information, so you'll just come here straight to this platform and buy it. There, where that is part where we get the revenue. I mean the commission from the insurers.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for letting me know that. So at this stage, uh, I would say your solution right now is at this, excuse me. So at this stage, we are in between. So like for now, based on the question I've asked you, means that, so you've been able to define that it is desirable, people need it. You've also been able to tell us how viable it is and like how this can be sustained. So the next part, which is the third part, that would determine if you would fall into real impact or not, depends on the feasibility. So how easy is the solution implementable? Does the users have like the ability to access that code easily? And then do you guys, which of you on your team have that both technical skills to develop the solution? Has it already been developed? And who is actually like leading the whole implementation and all of it?
Yeah, this is feasible. We have a guy who is our software developer as part of the team. So he's responsible with all the architecture and the infrastructures and everything.
Okay, then how about like the easy access for people to use it? So for example, I know even some elderly people who might not be good with smartphones or digitization, how is your solution going to make it easy for them to know
So,
what to do?
so for now we have opted for QR code, but as we proceed, you know, almost 70 to 80% of our phone users in our country are feature phone. That means we need to enable our application to be a USSD based application, in a sense that instead of a person using a QR code, he or she has to, I mean, she'll get a unique transaction ID sort of that will be linked to all of his information. So right now, the easy way is using the QR code, but in a future, in future timings, we want to go to simply to make it as simple as possible by using USSD, in a sense that we will be able to include people that are using smartphones and also the people who are using feature phones.
Okay, so that means it's not yet as at now because of so it's not yet like easily accessible to everyone. So just a few of them who have
Smartphone, yes, smartphones.
and then you say 70 to 80% of your people use what?
They use feature phones.
What do you mean by feature phones?
These non-smartphones, like the ones that,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Wow. Wow, wow. So that's where the issue is now. So if 70 to 80% of your users use feature phones, then it means that you are only benefiting from just 30 or less than 30% of the market that on the potential you have or the real impact. So at this stage, you don't fall into this category right here.
Okay. Okay.
At this stage, you don't fall into that's the center. You understand? So you have
Yeah.
succeeded with these two, this blue one and the orange one, which is the desirable and the viable. So at this stage, what you need to think of now as it is as an innovator, as an entrepreneur. Now you need to begin to think about, okay, since the larger proportion of your users or your customers use this feature phone, how best can you design a new type of model that would be able to provide them so that alerts as text messages, because you have a large, so you want to mostly target the larger population, or
Yes.
so yes, so you need to also, so while you have this solution already centered for these people who use smartphone, but a larger population of your user um, actually use that feature phone. And so you need to start thinking of how can you design the solution. Don't be comfortable with what you currently have. That's what keep you afloat ahead of your competitors. You need to keep improving, keep finding ways. So I know you have plans in the future to help do that, also use SSD, which is good. But right now, you need to meet these people and start speaking with them to understand, oh, what is the best? So you are using this phone. What is the best way? How do you best interact? What is the best way? Can we? Would you prefer to be notified, or how would you? So speaking with them will help you figure out what's the best solution. So at this stage, you've done well. But once you hit this point of full feasibility, because right
Yes.
now it's not, once you hit this point, that's where you make real impacts, like real major impacts. And that's where your product becomes like highly, not just innovative, but highly acceptable, highly accepted in a large audience. Do you
Okay.
understand?
Yes, yes, this is understood.
Is this helpful?
Very helpful, very helpful.
Okay, good, good. Thank you. So I would have loved to take more samples, but for now, let's just move on so that I could take more questions at the end, so that I can meet up with the timing. Okay. So, oh, so I have to clean up this 1 second. One second. Let me just erase this off. Okay. Okay, somebody sent me a message. 1 second. Let me just check it out. Okay, let's go ahead. Um, so so now let's talk about how we would apply like design thinking, how you could apply design thinking with what you do, what you currently do, to make sure you're on the right track when coming up with new product innovations and you're doing the right thing. The first step you need to think of is to set up a challenge. Your challenge in the sense that you want to, it's almost like you're trying to explore something, and then you just figured out like, okay, there's a need in this aspect. People are having, maybe you are saying things that are not that are happening, and you're not happy with the state at which thing is going, and you feel like you could change that. So you even feel it as a pain point. You see this happening or occurring all the time. Then you design a challenge and say, oh, I want to, this is in quotes. So I'm going to give you an example of how you you frame your challenge. But in quotes, you just identified what you want to, just similar to what just talked about in terms of people are not able to know when their license expires, or driver's license, or whatever car license, and he needs an easy way to help them get notified to make sure that they keep up with renewals. So first, once you identify that challenge or that need that you feel that it's a big point that you need to address. The second thing is to assemble a team. You can't do things alone. So once you assemble a team, get the smartest mind. And when you assemble a team, one thing you should know is that do not just bring a team that are similar to you or that can do the same thing as you. No. Make sure. So I like when I asked him a particular question, for example, Joachim, he had to ask this. So there's a part he could answer, and then there's a part his team member answer. That shows you that there's diversity. It means that the talents, so you're leveraging on other people's talents. So you need to form a team that can do what you cannot do. So whenever you're assembling a team, look at what skills they are bringing that you don't have. Don't look at people who look like you, who are similar in the same trait. No, look for people who have diverse talents that you don't have, either in technical skill. In fact, if you are trying to address a solution on health, you want to assemble maybe a medical professional, probably an MBA professional student who is or entrepreneur who has business IQ, and then an IT person, like education person who can bring like and help you in communicating curriculums and all those things. So having different components or expertise, because innovation is found in the space between those expertise. The space between those expertise, that's where you find innovative ideas, because you are bridging that gap. What experiences those people have, you don't have it, so you get to learn from those things. And that's one major thing I and my team do a lot. Most times when we are designing, we have people who have experience in different aspects, and it doesn't matter which level of experience they have. Every person's decision, every person's idea is important. Every person's suggestion is important and necessary. So it's, even as a leader assembling a team, you must be willing to listen to them and take those ideas, and then you begin to figure out how to streamline them. So the next thing I would want us to look at briefly when it comes to this process on how to apply human-centered design thinking to create innovation is 5 simple methodology. The first is empathy. Second is define, then ideate, prototype, and test. I'm sure some of you would have heard about this methodology, this process. But first of all, I want you to look deeply into it. And so I'm going to explain how this works. So first of all, empathy is like putting yourself in the shoe of your user. You get to understand their pain, their needs, what exactly do they need, what exactly are they struggling with. And then you begin to think about, okay, how can I define that in one sentence, which was one of the reason why in the beginning I asked you, define your problem in a sentence and the solution in one sentence. So when you create empathy, you want to be able to communicate or define that problem in a simple and easy way to understand, because how you define the problem determines the type of solution you provide. So let me give you an example. A few years ago, when I started my organization in South Africa, I actually, first of all, ran in a liquid soap company early, that was late, somewhere around 2014, 2015. And then I moved to setting up a cassava processing factory, expanded within the Niger Delta region before I actually started my social enterprise non-profit organization, which is in South Africa. So, but before we started, a few years back, most of the reason why I actually moved into it was because many of them people keep reaching out to me, wanting to learn, wanting to be mentored and to learn how to start businesses, how to grow, how to raise funds, how to like build them and become successful with it. And majority of these young people who reached out were like people who didn't have jobs. Like, you know, there's high rate of unemployment in Nigeria, even across some other African countries. But realized that majority of them were interested in certain businesses. So I thought that one way to solve that or tackle this unemployment was also to teach them the skills to start businesses. Yeah, and that's good. We did it. We were successful with it. But later down the line, I realized that it wasn't just that alone. One thing that's the major issue is about our education system. We have a very poor education system that do not prepare graduates well enough with the skills that they need so that when they graduate and come out of school, they are competent enough to either find a good job or launch a business. So you see that many of them struggle. Employers, and we have so many companies, so many organizations, people recruit almost every day. But during our interviews, our speaking with employers, we realize that most of them do not have, like, they are looking for graduates, but majority do not have the competence for those roles. So you see that most of them who go through school, university, come out, but they're not equipped. And so they don't find jobs. And then they say there's no jobs, there's unemployment. And then employers are looking for people to employ. And then they take that lack of competency into the business and implement their business, and businesses fail. So after we also looked at it in the other light and defined that, oh, so even students do not actually have the skills to gain employment, like to get jobs, because they are not well equipped or practically equipped for it. So begin to think about how can we design a solution that will allow them develop the skills and prepare them even for the workplace. So now we have two solutions. We have the one that prepares them for entrepreneurship, for business, and then now we have the one that prepares them directly for the workplace. So employers now have a pool will now have a pool of talent, high quality talent that they can access easily without going through the pain of recruitment. And then students or graduates are now well equipped, for example, to meet employers' needs. So how you define your problem, how you define that problem, the perspective to which you define it, we also determine the solution you create out of it. So, and then you ideate. Ideation means that you come up with a lot of ideas, and then you prototype. You want to test your ideas very fast to know if it's going to succeed or fail, and you want to be able to spend very small amount of money in order to test if it will work or not. So in this aspect, that's when you prototype it, then you launch it out to test. So I'm going to just explain briefly about like this concept. So in empathy, when you have empathy, the first part is to what you do. The first process you do is to like I said earlier, you define like the challenge. What kind of how do you create your challenge? I'll give you examples shortly. Then you do further research, and when you do further research, you want to speak to your users directly. You want to experience it for yourself. You want to know if this is really a need. You want to have that passion enough to be able to implement the solution. The second part is when you define it, like I said earlier, you want to be able to interpret it rightly. And when you are defining it, you tell stories. Like, you know, when you are pitching your idea, if for example now, Joachim, when you're communicating when you're communicating your solution, for example, imagine you telling a story like I just did. Remember when I told you a story of my own, this and how I went to this, if I was to pitch, for example, to an investor, and you come and explain your idea in that way, and then me, I come and tell a story first of how I experienced this, who do you think that they would be more inclined to? Who do you think that they would be more inclined to? Is it to just the broad definition of problem, to that place where you tell the story and then do a connection that they can relate to it? Do you understand?
Yes.
So yeah, so it's when you are defining it, make sure that during your empathy phase you gather as much stories as possible to be able to communicate and frame when you are communicating, especially to investors. And then ideating, it helps you, it's almost like seeing opportunities. You want to generate so many ideas and then plot it within that kind of diagram, like I told you, in terms of desirable, is it desirable, is it feasible, is it viable? And then you come up with like prototypes. I'll show you examples of different types of prototypes that you can build, and then get feedback to iterate and test with your users, which is the final process in this thing. So like, let's start with like framing a challenge. So when people frame challenge, sometimes, so you can, framing your challenge could be put in light, like most times they like, design thinking follows a simple process methodology. You don't have to be brilliant to craft out or say something. You just say follow that simple process. How might we make things better? How might we do this? So this, for example, says how might parents who are struggling to cope with online education help their children adapt and learn and not suffer much losses. So with this challenge question now, it just makes me understand the need immediately in a few sentences. Know that at this stage, especially COVID-19, a lot of children will be suffering from like learning, education, and all those things because parents are busy. So how do they manage that in terms of the online education? Realize that my distance expired, and then I couldn't travel, I couldn't go anymore. I had to take an Uber. It became a problem. So if I'm not able to renew, I would have been arrested. So when this personnel come from, how you be able to get the story for you to really break down your points and your customers' need and pain is by doing something I'm going to teach you shortly, which is called empathy. And that empathy, how you create empathy is through either interview, observation, or immersing yourself in that experience. So in this light, when you think about like creating empathy and trying to understand the needs, you interview people, you look at those extreme users. So you are first of all define the demography, who they are, and basic information about them. Now the next thing is to interview them. You want to speak to them. You want to know about. So while you're interviewing people, think about the story. Very important. Think about the story. Story gives you inspiration. It gives you what you call insights. So when you get those insights, gather them, put them down. You begin to use those insights, those stories to create the needs. Again, you need to craft out. So at the initial phase, you would have come up with your own idea or ideology of what their needs are and what their pain points are. But by the time you start speaking with them, you have to go back to your personnel and redefine it, and then create the real needs and the real pain points by crafting out that model. So you see, so for example, during our time when we were interviewing, we interviewed over 100 stakeholders online, even during this COVID-19, while we were on, and most of the interviews I did that like virtually with my team. So we interviewed undergraduate students, we interviewed recent graduates, we interviewed HR professionals, we interviewed employers, we interviewed MBA students in the US. Why? Because we realized that there's a gap in terms of their educational system. We wanted to find out what were they learning, or what kind of external activities or career preparation that they were doing that allowed them learn or improve themselves to be employable after they graduate, that school cannot provide them. And so we also learned about the needs of students. Like, so we realized that during that interview process, we realized that most of them don't even know how to use basic computer tools like digital skills, soft like Microsoft, Excel, slides, and these are basic things that you need in the workplace. But your school don't teach you that. So many things, and then we realize from employers need that they want people who have critical thinking, who are problem solvers, who can take initiative and they're proactive, all those kind of things. So with those insights, most of the time they are telling us stories of an experience they've had. It's best when you're asking them, ask them about a time, what time or what experience have you had in the past that made you realize this or came to this decision and all those things. You get very powerful insights. So each time you want to go through innovation process, like I said, first create empathy, and how you do that through interviews, observations, immersion. So some of them could be survey, could do a survey, but I really love interviews. Interviews give you more insight than survey. Survey doesn't give you everything you need. So when you do that, you then go move to the ideation phase, defining phase, which I said initially. So I'm going to give you so this example, for example, is about a young teenager so something relating to health. And then you want to put it into three categories: user, needs, insights. So your user, so this one says is a teenager who needs to eat healthy. And the insight is certain nutrients are necessary for physical and cognitive health and development. Looking at this, does it look like something that a teenager really cares about? That doesn't really look like something a teenager care about. To nutrients, who care about like a teenager? So maybe you can talk to an elderly person about it, but not a teenager. Care about health or nutrients? No. So in this light, it means that at the beginning of your challenge, maybe you would have communicated it this way, that this is what your customer are facing. But when you interview and begin to go deeper, you realize that is beyond that, and then you need to frame it even deeper. You need to be more specific. So in this specific light now, you want to communicate it this way. First of all, your user has to be very specific. It says ninth grade girl in a new school. And if you look at this, you're already having a concept of what this problem might be. So a ninth grade girl who just comes into a new school needs to feel socially accepted while eating healthy. So maybe in the US, for example, you're eating healthy, maybe vegetables or something, or even in Africa, we know how to swallow what they call it, fufu and cassava, like, those heavy things. And then you see maybe a young teenager who comes to school. Imagine that kind of person, and then eating just vegetables. People, they start laughing at, making a mock, not knowing that it's a good thing, but why are you laughing at that kind of person? So in a young teenager who wants to feel socially acceptable while eating healthy, and what's the insight you gain from it? She said that in her career, the social risk is more dangerous than a healthy risk, in a simple sentence. So maybe during this interview, realize that the girl is even more concerned about like what her friend thinks of her, because some people might be looking down on her and begin to give her some like bad feel, like someone who is become depressed. So you see that it's now even more it's now more of a problem than she keeping herself healthy. So when designing a solution, you want to look at the pain points, define the problem properly to give you to help you generate the right solution. So I'm going to give an example of this, our Star Wars lady again. So we said a 21-year-old single wealthy superhero who needs to defeat and destroy the Star Wars, an empire. The insight there is that during her story, she said that Tad Vada is taking over the entire galaxy. If she doesn't stop him, he's going to take over. So that was the insight that led to the need and all those things. So in your design challenge process, again, like I said, after creating empathy, you want to follow the same process and say, come up with like, what is your user, what is the need in one sentence, and what insight did you gain? I'll encourage you to take down notes of these things, because anytime you want to come up with new product innovation, just follow this simple process, and you land yourself somewhere that you didn't even imagine. You don't have to be brilliant to come up with things like this. So after defining that, the next process you want to do is to research further. So you want to find out data to back it, to know if this is a real need. Interview and all those things are good, but not enough. So you want to be able to research more to define, how large is this problem? So if, for example, people don't have access to, in a local community, don't have access to water, I want to provide borehole. Or people farmers are losing their distance and they want to sell, be able to reach large volume, and then they are selling at a loss. And then you want to create a solution that help them get their produce out faster. By the time you research this too, and you realize that it's just a few people within the category of the borehole, maybe one city that are facing that challenge, and then you want, maybe in the other side of the agriculture, you notice that it's probably the entire country is facing. And sometimes it might be that you realize that some data even says that it's happening in all other countries too. So doing more research and putting data to back up what you come up with and what you want to solve. So it gives you, it helps you first of all start thinking about how viable is this. So after that, you begin to generate lots of ideas. So you want to brainstorm with your team, sit down with your team, come up with solutions. Like I said in the beginning, when you are having that mindset of a design thinker, you want to be very optimistic. No pessimistic, no. Keep building on your team's solution idea. Yes. So you want to be optimistic, come up with a lot of ideas. When you come up with these ideas, the next thing I need you to do after that will be to pick out a few. So you look at them, put them down, and then you pick out a few of them, maybe 3, come up with your top 3 or top best 3 ideas that you think out of the many ones you have generated. And then visualize it. Design thinking allows you, so you need to draw out things. So most times when I'm designing or we're going to something, we don't just write. If you're able to sketch and visualize, you can can imagine what that solution would be. You can imagine the process. You can imagine, so you want to expand your mindset, your imagination. So you want to visualize them. And when you visualize, draw it out. It's easier to draw out the whole process first. It doesn't have to be perfect. It could be just one skeleton man moving to this location, moving to that location. You're drawing out the process on how it's going to work before you start communicating it in writing. That should be your next step. So when you do that thing, do it for your top 3 ideas. When you do that for your top 3 ideas, then you think about how can you now streamline those 3 to come up with one. And the best way to do that is now to plot it within that diagram of desirability, feasibility, and viability. So you want to think about these ideas, these 3 ideas, how would they work? Do they fall into this 3 category at once? Or is there a way that maybe like initially, just as Jashim's idea meets the category, the first 2, viable and desirable, but it has an element of feasibility, but not complete. So you now think about, so maybe out of your second idea, you can have a component of that same part that you might want to integrate into that initial one. So thinking about now, how do you integrate some of them or some components of different ideas and then come up with one single idea in order to make real impact. So when you think of this and you generate that solution, then the next thing is to prototype. So in prototyping, like I said earlier, it's prototyping is almost like coming up with a minimum viable product. So you want to be able to fail early. You don't want to put a perfect product out in the market. There are different ways of prototyping that you don't have to spend money. So imagine if okay, let me give you an example. There's this friend of mine who wanted to start a donut company. Donuts is like the snacks in Nigeria we use, and the normal way they do donuts here is that people just make donuts like bakers just make it and put them in shelves. So people just come, then you take and put inside wraps and sell to them. So it's open, it's exposed. But one major thing in Lagos, Nigeria, is that there's high traffic. So high peak traffic morning and evening, and people buy a lot. Like those who sell on the roads while traffics are going on, people are buying because they stay on traffic for long. So drivers, passengers, people want to eat. So the quickest food is snacks. So people begin to think about like, how can we package donuts to make it easy accessible for people to buy it? And donuts don't last long. It just lasts for a few days. You want to sell it off quickly. That's why people make it fresh. So one of the things she went to do, very major mistake, set up the factory, buy this, buy that, buy the ramps, design it, get a designer, very beautiful, gorgeous package. After doing all of those things, she just, and then launched out, oh my God, thinking that people would just embrace the idea. It doesn't work that way. They already used to their own system of gala. Yes, people will be willing to buy at that, they are willing to buy, but by the time you see that, oh, you need to go at this period, which are traffic peak period, and if you don't go, the longer your donor stays, it becomes bad. So if she was to do that differently, she didn't need to have set up all those major factories. Maybe she would have even started by, so prototype, you want to first of all try a few samples. You don't want to spend money building factory. You don't want to spend money developing a software. You spend that, develop a software finish, pay a lot of money to host it on App Store, only to realize that it's not acceptable. People are not using it. So there are cheaper way of doing it to test how people will respond to it before you launch fully, before you pilot fully. And some of those ways to do it is first, let me give you different samples of prototype ways you can prototype. The first one of them is to create a storyboard. So it depends on the type of product you're coming up with. You can, so it doesn't matter what it is. It could be, it depends on the type. So you can use it, first of all, create a storyboard. Your storyboard describes like the process with which your user will have to take. And the essence of this is not to come up with a perfect solution. You're not building your products yet. you're trying to come up with something that will help you get feedback to know will this work or not before you launch fully. So you create a storyboard. It could be a sketch. If you don't have to be an artist to do this. If you have an artist, fine. And then you tell a story of how that works. If you see this picture to my right, of you see some images of a smiley face, sad face, crying face. This board was designed to. There's this innovation lab. I don't know if you've heard of Unleash Innovation Lab. It happens every year. Last year it was in China, Shenzhen. So I was there for this program. So some of this team who worked on the solution, they gave them tools like this to come up with their prototypes, and there was to be something called a market day that allow you demo it to people, to potential investors, to judges, and all they need to do is to walk them through this process. Oh, okay, this person wanted to assess this, and at this stage, after doing, or maybe it's you go to a restaurant and then you sit down, they serve you well, you tell them, okay, if you're happy, click on this smiley face, or if you're sad, click on this or this. So whatever it is, or it could be, and then it could be that you have a code that helps you scan and pick which of them it is. So just having a visual picture of what your solution might look like, to be able to talk to people and say, and so that they can visualize it when you're explaining the solution, and then they can give you feedback. That way, it helps you know on time. So you gather more, demonstrate it for many people without spending money on anything, and you gather feedback before you launch fully and start developing the product. So another type, some people do like diagram, create a diagram that explains the flow of the process from this stage to this stage. Another thing, so the same thing on the right is also one of the team solution I snapped. They did a game board, an African game board, and then they use these sheets, soft sheets, and then a cardboard paper. So there's a cardboard paper that you see on it, and then they just cut that to help it look like when you do drafts, the way they do drafts. And see them, they're even playing it without spending any money on this. So people begin to think, oh, okay, what? So by the time they're experiencing it, you give people to try it and see if it's working. By the time they're experiencing it, they begin to give you feedback. Oh, it's not stable. Oh, I feel comfortable when I'm doing it this way. Or the hole is tight. Or it's not like, you begin to get feedback to think about how you will do the main prototype by the time you now raise money for that. So another type of way of prototyping is creating a model. So the first two you see here, this engine lab, and the other side is also the same. I actually met with these people themselves. The same innovation lab. So they created, I think they were trying to do a movable engineering van for very local schools in local communities who don't have access to like practicals. So they just do theory, they don't have access to practicalize. So the guy designed a van that would take people, that will have all those practical tools and lab, and then that would take mostly tech, go from school to school at a particular period in time and give students access to be able to do practicals and try out with these tools. So all he needed to do was to create a model. A model is like a 3D visualization of what you written you want to create. In order to test. So when he was explaining, it was like, oh, it was looking impressive. But when he was explaining his model, we started asking him questions about how does he intend to implement it? When he moves from this location, how do you think that it will work? So we started asking him key questions, and then he realized that if he eventually buys this bus and do this, it's going to fail woefully. If he just do this, his money will just go to waste. By the time he kept getting questions, getting feedback, he realized that this thing would not work by merely just doing it this way. But see, he didn't have to buy the bus, set up the design, and test it before he knew it wasn't going to work or it was going to work. Just a simple process like this made him saved him a lot. This one right here in the middle with that looks like kids. This is like got Bumblebee. In fact, these people won the Unleash Innovation Lab for health. What they did was that they wanted children in hospital. They use Lagos, for example. Sometimes when children who cannot breathe, and then the oxygen, like maybe there's no light or constant light. So they designed a way whereby you can give those babies, newborn babies, who don't have like strong system to breathe by themselves. So design a new way to give them oxygen, give them air without electricity. And they use what they call water bubble. And the funny part is that there was a doctor in that group, that team. There was a doctor, there was a tech person, like, and they all of them did. Okay, I don't think there was a tech person. They didn't need to. They didn't need um, to develop one technical thing. They just came up with a simple solution. So if you see, it's called water bubble, bubble V. They used the water bubble, connected something like a hose to the kids. See how they demonstrated it, very powerful. When the judges came and saw their solution, it was like, wow. They didn't need to have like a very well-designed model. This is just an MVP, good enough for you to know if this solution will work or not. And they won. They won. They gave them funding. Now they are going to develop the real product. So when you are designing solution, you want to come up with, start first with some simple things that you don't need to spend money on, that you can talk with few people who you are designing for and get feedback before you go a step further. Another style might be an advert. So you might do a fake advert of your, so maybe it's a service and you want to launch something. So you want to send out and then get people to register. But there was one thing my husband did before he launched his book. He first of all published and said, so he just gave a snapshot of what his book would be about, and then asked who would be interested to buy. If people would be interested to buy, people registered. So that was one of the motivating factors that I even gave him to, okay, go ahead and finish this book and then launch it. So then when he finished, he reached out to those same people who showed interest at the beginning. When the book, there was no even book at all. And then majority of them bought it. So having these MVPs, these prototypes, helps you demo what the experience that your customers will have, or helps you give a reasonable feedback. First of all, to know, is this needed? Will this be desirable? Will people want it? Will they be willing to pay? This is another type, creating a mock-up. This is mostly for tech. So if you have a digital one, maybe a digital tool, you want to use a mock-up type of prototyping. So for example, this is like when Google Map was created. They didn't design or build it out. They had to draw it, sketch it out, sketch the process, and talk to people to get feedback on, to know like, do they think that this is something that they will need, they will use? And this last one that has tools here, if you see like phones, the keyboard, this was Apple's first prototype. Look at it very well. It was Apple's first prototype. It's not a phone. They did some tools like that, covered and just created how it would work, did connected keyboard. It was crazy. This one failed. People were not interested in it at that phase. But that gave them a better insight, like when they spoke to people, understand what would they want better? How would they want it? And then ask questions. That was how they came up with very powerful thing and beat BlackBerry. So you see now, even up to today, tomorrow, you can't just hack or crack what Apple has done. They were the pioneers of this design thinking innovation. Then another type is to role play. You can ask a user, somebody to demo out the experience. If it's maybe a service, you just tell them, okay, act like this. Maybe they act it or role play it out, and then you get feedback from them. So many process of prototyping. So I'm coming to an end, but before that, I just want to show you a quick video. I'll just play this quick video on how an experiment that was done to see how users would behave or interact with a product. So imagine, for example, these people would always, if you notice, they would climb, all of them would, if you have a stair and an escalator, which will you prefer? Especially you are traveling with load. You prefer to climb the escalator. You don't want to go through that hassle of going through this long, terrible step. But take a look how they change. So innovation sometimes is like helping you changing the status quo. You want to change how people behave. You want to, because you change an experience. So remember I said in the beginning, innovation is about creating experience for your user. It's not creating a product. It's not creating a service, it's creating an experience. So if you begin to think of how can you create experience that will make their life better. So Uber think about, they didn't just give you a vehicle that you can access quickly and move. So one, it's an experience that now you sit at the comfort of your home. You don't have to go all the way out to look for a taxi. That's one experience. But they also show you, oh, when your driver is coming to you, when it's 5 minutes close. If for example your car is 30 minutes away, oh, you can relax and do other things, so you're not in a haste, or you can round up, or you can do some stuff. Then it shows you when your driver is coming few minutes close. It also shows you, alerts you when say, oh, it's 2 minutes here. So now I know that I have to step out. Now I know I have to be ready. So it gives you an experience, what you do, all those things. So when you're designing, think about the experience. So I'm going to play this shortly for you, and then I want you to give me feedback on what you think about this thing and what you learned from this example. That was the design challenge. Thank you, man. Okay, so tell me what you think about. Some of you should share what you think about this sample video I just shared with you right now.
Guys, you're welcome to share. I think we just do, every startup should share generally what you think from the video. We'll start with Daniel and others will follow. Daniel and Ginger.
Daniel, are you there? Another person can start. Doesn't have to be Daniel.
Hello. Just a quick one. I think from what I've learned there is just instead of using the elevators, everybody is using the stairs with the piano there. So the experience is great for them.
The experience, okay.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
For me, what I have learned in this fan theory is that most people were using elevators. So people love simple life. So which in other way create laziness, because stairs you can do a big exercise, but thought if they applied the keyboard, it will motivate them to do more exercise, and in doing more exercise, it will be fun, a fun thing. That is why most people were attracted with stairs, and they left the easy one, the elevator. So this picture, I can picture it in us innovators. for example, we can have a mindset of wanting to provide a certain idea, but some people can say that most people do not know it. It is not there, so it will be hard. But we have to look back and say, what can we do to attract people to use our innovation and what we have, so that in long run, we can be able to generate more users. So that is what a bit I've learned in this farm theory.
Okay, that's
Thank
fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. So when you're sharing, I like it. Please explain it in this aspect of relate it back to your innovation process and your user, how you create experiences and like what you learn from it that would help you apply in what you're doing. So yeah, please go ahead. Next person. Who else would like to share?
From what I have observed from that video is innovation that touches people emotion brings much better results, because the stairs has been always been there, but people are not using it. But as soon as they added that innovation that had some sort of fun part on it, people changed their behavior and started using the stair.
Good. Okay. Thank you so much for that. Changing behavior of your users. So and you notice that that's completely what innovation really is. It's not getting them to do the same thing over and over again. It's actually how do you change the status quo? How do you change the behavior, and then the experience that they benefit out of it? And I like that other example where he talked about people helping people do exercise in a different way. So how can you have them like use something and enjoy it? And then another thing I also noticed again, notice even a very old person was willing to climb the step because of it. But not they want to. And then sometimes, and then some people were jumping on it. So you want to innovate your product in a way. You want to create an experience for your user in a way that makes it even addictive, that they have to come back. So you don't want your solution to be that is a one-time thing. You want it to create, you want to make it, when you're thinking about how you innovate, you want to think about how it could be addictive for your users to come back and stay on it over and over and over again. So as much as you want to get a lot of users, another thing that's more important you should look at is retainership. Retainership, very necessary. Okay, so because of time, I would round up. So finally, when you do that, you want to test it to them.
Hello?
Like you just did. Okay, then go ahead.
Hello. I wanted to ask a bit of something.
Okay.
Concerning you said about the team, and you said that you need to have a mixture of skills and everything. I'm lucky for my business. We have mix because I'm more into business skills, and also have engineers that we're working together so that we can generate products and bring them to the market. But my question lies: what if a person does not have a team? Or what if a person does not have a person? Let's say a business person. He has seen a problem. He has able to articulate the problem, and he has found a solution. How can he create that product? For example, that person can have an option of giving someone work to make it, and then take the product and then make, because he's the one who has provided the money, and he would not want to engage with that a person who has a technical how. Maybe, for example, if you see that maybe behavior, they are not going together, or so how does the person who has one skill has a find is it a must to find another skill, or can he have another option of doing it without depending to another person?
Okay, thank you for that question. So if I got you correctly, so you're talking about if you identify the problem and a solution, and then you want to develop it, and you are likely going to either to look for a team member who has a skill in an area where you don't have that competency, or you're thinking about could it be better to just do it by yourself, so maybe focus on the solution where it's about the place where you have the skill to deliver, right?
Yes.
So if so in that light, the first thing I need you to know is that you're not designing for yourself. You're actually designing for your users. So you must always have that at the back of your mind. You don't want to think of just the easier route. You want to think about the right route. Remember when I talked about the teenager who who like that health defined that health issue? So the first thing is to really make sure that you are trying to develop something that your customer need. And if you are trying to do that, most of the time you don't have all the skills that are required to do it alone. And it's even advisable not to do things alone. Like it's really stressful. It's like I've experienced doing things alone. I'm very I could be very independent. I know how to multitask a lot, but I've also experienced what it means to work with teams and being able to delegate roles in areas where, because if you realize that there are things you can get yourself bogged in trying to do that other people will be able to do better, or even if they don't do it better than you, but they'll be able to do, and then you see that you can achieve more within a shorter time. So being able to work with other team members to do it, so your team members don't have to be 50% shared. So for example, now I have Samoa here, I have Sarah here. They are both interns working for my organization. We have so many other ones. We have different people from different, both though some of them in the US. Majority of them are interns. We have a full-time staff, but you know, every Monday I take my Mondays, I sacrifice Mondays to do one-on-one with each of them to define their tasks for the week. If I was to do that alone, it would take me probably 3 to 6 months to do all of those tasks that they are doing right now alone. The product new service line we are designing, we started this whole design thinking phase since April, late March to April, early April, and we've been able to finish our curriculum. Right now we are presenting it tomorrow to some experts to get feedback. If I was to do that alone, it will probably get to next year. Now we are launching our MVP, our prototype, by September, to make it very faster, because it's a very tedious thing. And there are so many methodologies in it. There are some skills I noticed that the other part team members bring in on board, or ideas they share, that I don't necessarily would have thought of it. So working with people is the best way to go. It doesn't have to be like 50 co-partners. It could be it could even be there are interns who are eager and wanting to learn or participate in something, or even volunteer if you don't have the funds to pay them. Or it could be to like at least get some people, even if it's to pay, if you doesn't, could be something small we give them. Like we even before our prototype was ready, we launched, we already applied for a couple of grants, and it was an MBA student we got who was willing to help us write that. If I had sat down to do that thing, I would not have. I have the technical skill, yes, but she was far better. I would not have even had the chance to even communicate that within that timeline. And I just gave her a gift to appreciate her. So when I mean team, looking out for people who have experts in different areas, even if you have those skills in those areas in some extent, you can't do it alone. So it's always best to work with a team. That's why it's really important. That's why in Ignite Innovation that we are even pairing people in diverse team where they don't know each other. So you see a team member, you work virtually with somebody from either Nigeria, Zambia, Somali, like different team, or it could be a blend of male, female, or it could be a blend of tech, health, wherever skills they have. We merge them into one team. you need to learn how to work with people. It's really important for an innovative process. It's really helpful. So one man thing doesn't always go far. You might have the grace to do it. Yes, that's fine. But you can't like succeed alone. Dangote today is the richest man. Imagine if it was only him since that beginning time when he started and he has continued alone. He won't be able to come this far. You need people. So you must first of all have that mindset. Yeah. Did I make the question clear? Did I
Yes,
answer it?
yeah,
Okay.
you have answered well. Thank you.
Okay, good. Good. So at the end of it, when you finish prototyping tests, one thing I want you to know again, design thinking processes, to keep iterating. The more you keep iterating, going back again to understand people's needs, redefining the problem, coming back with ideas, prototyping, trying out it, you will see that you begin to improve on your products and creating more user experience and more behaviors for your people. So, and then now, because this is a digital phase, one thing I need you to know is that when you are designing, you need to store documents, document your things, store files, store them on cloud computing. It's really important. We have gone past this age of even using just Microsoft, saving them on Drive. Even Microsoft now has like a cloud computing. Now I hardly use all my staff. They've all learned how to use Drive. So we share documents. You see people working real time. You store. So even if there's no light, there's no internet, we can still be working once you save your file offline. And then you don't have the issues. I've had several experiences where my computer just crashed all of a sudden in the very peak of something, and I lost all files. But right now in cloud computing, I can access it anywhere. So I want to encourage you to learn Google Drive. There's just you can learn the skills online, how to use them. It's just like the way dock and drive work. So if if you are going through an innovation process, you don't want to lose any of your documents. You don't want to lose any of your hard work. To keep them on cloud computing, like using them, doing that process consistently will help you like get used to it. So one of the things that the participant during the innovation cycle will do will be to learn how to use Google Drive, and all their collaboration will be on Google Drive. We're not accepting any Microsoft Doc and others. Every collaboration will be on Google Drive. It's easy to use on phone. It's easy to use on laptop. You can share documents with your team easily without uploading. You don't even need much space. It doesn't take up much space. So I encourage you to always to use this when you are going through your design or innovation process. It gives you a lot of tools to implement. So that's the end. So that'll be all for now. Thank you so much.